We learned this week that the whistleblower responsible for leaking a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop hard drive to several media outlets and members of Congress has hundreds more gigabytes of deleted material. Whistleblower Jack Maxey is now on the run.
This comes as the White House press corps is demanding answers. When asked about an appointment of an independent special counsel, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said this.
The president has never had a conversation with the Department of Justice about any investigations into any member of his family.
The GOP isn't letting up either. House Judiciary Committee Republicans are telling those familiar with Hunter Biden's laptop to give up any information or face subpoenas.
Hunter Biden can't seem to escape scandal, according to The Guardian. While Hunter Biden lives it up in a luxury Malibu, California house, the Secret Service is shelling out over $30,000 per month to protect the president's son, meaning our taxpayer dollars are footing the bill.
ABC News reports the security detail rented out a property in close proximity to Hunter Biden, which boasts 6 bedrooms and baths and, quote, gorgeous ocean views. Of course, many of us by now know that the president's controversial son is under federal investigation for having been a consultant to companies in China and Ukraine. Culture editor at The Federalist, Emily Jashinsky, is here with us now. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks so much, guys.
So what do you think about this House story? So I like everybody else reacted at first like, oh my God, we're shelling out. I can't believe, taxpayers are on the hook for this, mansion for security detail for Hunter Biden. But then I thought about it for a little longer and okay, right, they do have to provide him security. They have to live nearby him. I mean, it might not be there's any way around doing something like this, right?
Yeah, that's entirely correct. This is the least concerning thing about Hunter Biden ever. It's actually just the reality of Secret Service needing to protect members of the first family. They tend to live in very expensive areas, and that means that Secret Service is extremely expensive. So the sticker shock is immense. There's no question about it. But we have way, way more important things to deal with when it comes to Hunter Biden, as this laptop story continues to prove.
And what would those be? Like, what do you think is most interesting about this? The revelation that there could be a ton of deleted material that Congress and the media might be able to get its hands on.
Yeah, so the Washington Post had a big story last week. Actually, it was 2 stories, but one of the stories went through basically a forensic examination of the laptop, and it found, or of the hard drive, and it found this like very odd trail. They kind of compared it to a crime scene where wrappers had been left all over it as police were milling about. But the bottom line is they were able to verify emails that involved CEFC, which is a Chinese company that was paying Hunter Biden millions of dollars. And that had clearly interests in Hunter Biden trading on his name. So, and by the way, I apologize because I just ducked out to cover this news during an event. So that's why I look like maybe I've been held hostage by Hunter Biden. But
blink 3 times if you're in Malibu.
Right.
But
and if so, tell them to switch you to a new room with an ocean view. At least give you that. Right.
Right. No, you're right. But the CEFC connection is, I think, one of the big consequences of the media not covering the story with much curiosity for a very long time. Now that seems to have changed. But one of the big consequences is that people genuinely do not understand how serious his entanglements with an adversarial foreign government, given what we know about this company and its relationship with the Chinese government. I think the public genuinely doesn't know how serious that connection is. And as the story, the saga, I should say, continues to get weirder, you have to remember that very, very powerful people and very powerful governments are involved. And so some of the weirdness is related to the protection of that power.
Yeah, it's just more revelations every day. So what do you think? What's the next step in the process of learning more about this?
Yeah, this is not going away. It's not going away. It seems like it's snowballing as more and more information is discovered. But the bottom line is that information is going to continue to come out. We've seen this drip, drip, drip with the hard drive as more and more reporters have gotten their hands on it. There's an immense amount of data on it. And even the Washington Post was able to verify like thousands, tens of thousands of emails. But that was a small portion of the hard drive itself. So if there are deleted files in addition to that, we're talking about so much information. It's going to take the press a long time to get through it. It's going to take investigators a long time to get bank statements. If Republicans retake the House in this cycle, Hunter Biden is in for a world of subpoenas. And so this will continue to escalate. But what we're going to keep learning about almost certainly is the extent of Hunter Biden's dealings with companies that have ties to corrupt governments. And this CEFC is a huge deal. This is a company that we really desperately need to know what Hunter Biden was selling them to get that level of paychecks from them. And so I think, there's good reason to assume, even as broken as this media is, we'll continue to learn more about that.
Right, and this is a Chinese energy company that we know that the head of it met with Hunter Biden, and after the meeting, there was this very strange situation where they sent a piece of he sent a piece of jewelry to
Yep.
Hunter Biden's room, which his wife, now ex-wife, valued at $80,000. Hunter said it was really only worth $10,000, and Hunter says he gave it to his business partners. It's basically just disappeared. But not long after that, $3+ million wound up in accounts associated with Hunter Biden. And yeah, I do think that the Chinese angle here has always been one of the most interesting, because this is a relationship with, like as you said, a rising power. What is your sense of what specifically the company wanted?
Yeah, I think they wanted access to a powerful American family and government and a business. And we don't know what they got for that. And that's what the question, the open question is, because Joe Biden, who is implicated in Hunter's business dealings, we know the 10 for the big guy line continues to look more and more real and continues to have more evidence that is the sitting president of the United States. And at the time, the former vice president. We know Hunter Biden took Air Force Two with his father on an official vice presidential trip to do some of this business. This is like completely corrupt, but we don't entirely know the nature of it yet. And that's what we're going to continue to find out. But I think primarily it's access. Primarily it's about softening their ability to make favorable deals in the United States with regulators and politicians. And again, we don't know specifically what came of it, but the attempt and the fact that Hunter Biden and his father allowed their family name to be bought in that way is completely shameful and corrupt. We already know that much.
And that to me is like the real big story. The big story is, look, Hunter Biden, I think people try to do what they use their connections to make a buck. Obviously, Hunter Biden's doing that. He clearly needed to register as a lobbyist, I would imagine. But to me, the real story is Joe Biden. That is who would have committed the crime. That is who would have committed the act against the American public. Did Hunter, in trying to peddle his father, access to his father, did Joe Biden actually allow it? Did he participate in it somehow? That to me is the real story.
Yeah, it is. And it's a huge story either way, that I think the president's son, the former vice president's son, was selling access in this way to a Chinese energy company that had ties to the government, and the government, a government that is in ways seeking to undermine our country at the same time. So the laws that we have, so FARA, for instance, which has gotten a lot of press recently, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, it doesn't make any of this foreign lobbying illegal. It just makes it so that you have to disclose it. And so whether anything was actually criminal on behalf of Joe Biden or Hunter Biden is open. But Kim, you're right. Joe Biden, there is plenty of evidence, mounting evidence, that Joe Biden was taking some of this money. And we don't know where that went because he hasn't disclosed the finances of his S-corps or Joe Biden's. That's a huge standing question. Again, if Republicans retake the House, if they have subpoena power, this is going to amplify. And we're talking, still a year from now, if that were to happen. So this is is absolutely not going away, and it is not going away for Hunter Biden. But you're right. Most of all, it's not going away for Joe Biden, nor should it, because these are open questions. Although we already know the baseline that this was corrupt, no matter what.
And what makes some of this more plausible is that the key parts, the Biden, the 10% for the big guy, and also with the Washington Post reporting that Hunter Biden told the manager of his office that he wanted Joe Biden to get a key, to get into his office. Like, these things happened after he was vice president and during a period of time where he may have thought that his political career was over, that he wasn't running for office again. And post-political career, it's actually a pretty normal thing for people to do now, to just cash in and join boards and just get money for your name. And so that's why people who were like, no, that's impossible, Joe Biden would never do that. Well, a Joe Biden who was a former vice president, why would he not join a corporate board? Now, this is a kind of a different kind of a corporate board, but it's in the same kind of vein of the
He did not
cashing
expect
out.
to run when it was Hillary Clinton who was going to be the successor to Barack Obama. He chose not to contest that, and he had every intention of retiring in this sort of form.
Contemporary American political retirement, making millions of dollars on corporate boards.
That's true. Although
using
I
your
would
connections,
say that while Hunter was taking Air Force Two, for instance, Biden still had not ruled out running for president in 2016. He didn't rule that out until fairly late in the game. And the other thing that I would add,
and he was sitting vice president then, obviously.
He's the sitting vice president. And just don't forget the bigger context here, that Hunter was in tons of debt. So he was desperate to sort of start climbing out of that debt. And that's where this access peddling becomes very lucrative and very tempting for people here in DC. And that's why it's a norm. And that's where you also may have seen Joe Biden be more sympathetic to his son, who again, here's one lie that nobody should forget about. We already know it's a lie. Joe Biden said he never discussed his son's business dealings with him. Hunter Biden, in his own book, says that Joe Biden told him about Burisma. I hope you know what you're doing. And so that measure of sympathy may have stemmed from the fact that Hunter was in major, major debt at the time.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And thank
guys,
you for
I
making
gotta
time
climb
for
out of the
us,
bunker.
despite your hostage situation.
That's all good. Thanks, guys.
All right, we hope to see you alive again in the future. And we'll have more Rising right after this.